In the world of action movies, some films arrive quietly and completely change the genre. One such movie is John Wick, released in 2014. At first glance, it might look like just another revenge story about a retired hitman. But once the film begins, it quickly becomes clear that John Wick is something different. It is a movie that combines stylish action, emotional storytelling, and a mysterious criminal underworld that feels both exciting and dangerous. The film introduces us to a man named John Wick, played by Keanu Reeves. At the start of the story, John appears to be living a quiet and lonely life. He has recently lost his wife, and he seems to be struggling with grief. The audience learns that his wife left him a final gift before she passed away. A small puppy meant to help him cope with his loss and remind him that life can still hold meaning. For a short moment, the film feels calm and emotional. The puppy becomes John's only companion and symbol of hope. However, that peace does not last long. When a group of criminals break into John's home, steal his car, and kill the puppy, they unknowingly awaken something terrifying. What they did was not just a simple crime. They attacked the last connection John had to his late wife. What follows is a relentless journey of revenge that reveals John Wick's true identity. The audience soon learns that John is not just an ordinary man. In fact, he is a legendary assassin who was once feared throughout the criminal world. People in the underworld even have a nickname for him, Baba Yaga, a term used to describe someone almost mythical in their skill and deadliness. The criminals who attack John have no idea who they have crossed. But their boss, Viggo Tarasov, quickly realizes the terrible mistake his son has made. In one of the film's most memorable moments, Viggo explains who John Wick really is. He describes John as a man of pure focus and unstoppable determination. According to him, John is not simply the boogeyman. He is the one you send to kill the boogeyman. This moment sets the tone for the rest of the movie. What begins as a personal revenge story slowly expands into a fascinating look at a hidden world of assassins, secret rules, and powerful crime organizations. The film introduces unique elements such as the Continental Hotel, a mysterious place where assassins can stay safely as long as they follow strict rules. Inside its walls, no business can be conducted, meaning no killing is allowed. Through these details, the movie creates a rich universe that feels much larger than the main story. The audience begins to understand that John Wick was once deeply connected to this world. However, he had left it behind in order to live a normal life with his wife. Now that life is gone, and the violent world he escaped from is pulling him back in. One of the most important reasons why John Wick became so popular is its unique style of action. Instead of relying on shaky cameras or fast editing, the film focuses on clear, precise combat scenes. Keanu Reeves performs many of his own stunts, and the choreography of the fights feels realistic and powerful. Each action sequence is carefully designed, making the audience feel every movement, every punch, and every gunshot. Another reason the movie stands out is its emotional core. Even though it is filled with intense action, the story is driven by a simple but powerful motivation: grief and loss. John is not fighting for money or power. He is fighting because someone destroyed the last piece of love he had left in his life. That emotional foundation makes the story feel personal and meaningful. The film also balances seriousness with subtle world building. The mysterious codes of the assassin society, the gold coins used as currency, and the respectful relationships between killers all add depth to the story. It makes the audience curious about how this secret world operates. When John Wick was first released, many viewers did not expect it to become such a major success. However, the movie quickly gained attention for its stylish action, strong performances, and unique storytelling. It proved that even a simple revenge story can become something special when it is told with creativity and care. Today, John Wick is considered one of the most influential action films of modern cinema. It not only revived Keanu Reeves' career but also inspired a new standard for action choreography in Hollywood. What began as a small film eventually grew into a massive franchise with multiple sequels and a dedicated fan base around the world. But everything started with this first film. A quiet man, a tragic loss, and a mistake made by criminals who had no idea that they had just started a war with one of the deadliest assassins ever known. John Wick is a 2014 American action thriller that quickly became one of the most influential action films of the modern era. The movie is known for its intense fight scenes, stylish direction, and a mysterious criminal underworld that captured the attention of audiences around the world. While the film may appear simple on the surface, its strong execution and unique storytelling helped it stand out among many other action movies released during the same period. The film was directed by Chad Stahelski and David Leitch. Both directors had long careers working in Hollywood as stunt performers and stunt coordinators before making their directorial debut with John Wick. Because of their experience in stunt work and action choreography, they were able to design action scenes that felt realistic, clear, and exciting. Their approach focused on practical action and carefully planned choreography rather than relying heavily on computer-generated effects or shaky camera movements. The screenplay for John Wick was written by Derek Kolstad. His script introduced the character of John Wick and the mysterious world of assassins that exists beneath the surface of ordinary society. Kolstad created a story that combined emotional motivation with a structured criminal underworld that follows its own strict rules. This creative concept helped the movie feel fresh and original compared to many other revenge-driven action films. The movie was produced by Basil Iwanek, who helped bring the project to life through his production company Thunder Road Pictures. The film was distributed by Lionsgate and Summit Entertainment. At the time of its release, the movie was not expected to become a massive hit. However, strong word of mouth and positive reactions from audiences helped the film grow in popularity over time. John Wick was officially released in the United States on October 24, 2014. When it premiered, it received strong praise from critics and viewers who appreciated its unique approach to action filmmaking. Many reviewers highlighted the film's clean action choreography, stylish visual tone, and the powerful performance by Keanu Reeves. The film has a running time of approximately 101 minutes, which allows the story to move at a fast and focused pace. Unlike many modern action films that stretch beyond 2 hours, John Wick keeps its narrative tight and efficient. This shorter runtime helps maintain the film's intense momentum from beginning to end. The movie belongs mainly to the action and thriller genres, but it also includes elements of crime drama and neo-noir storytelling. The film's dark atmosphere, moody lighting, and morally complex characters give it a tone that feels similar to classic noir films. This combination of action and noir-style storytelling helped create a distinctive style that would later become the signature identity of the John Wick franchise. The film stars Keanu Reeves in the lead role as John Wick, a retired assassin who returns to the violent world he once left behind. Reeves was already well known for his work in action films like the Matrix trilogy, but John Wick allowed him to reinvent himself as a new type of action hero. His performance combines emotional restraint with intense physical commitment, making the character both believable and memorable. The supporting cast includes several talented actors who help bring the world of the film to life. Michael Nyqvist plays Viggo Tarasov, a powerful Russian crime boss who becomes John's main enemy. Alfie Allen plays Iosef Tarasov, Viggo's reckless and arrogant son whose careless actions start the entire conflict of the story. The movie also features Ian McShane as Winston, the calm and mysterious manager of the Continental Hotel, a secret hotel that serves as neutral ground for assassins. Lance Reddick plays Sharon, the professional and polite concierge of the Continental. Willem Dafoe appears as Marcus, a skilled assassin who shares a complicated past with John Wick. The cinematography of the film was handled by Jonathan Sela. His visual style plays an important role in the movie's atmosphere. The film uses dark shadows, neon lights, and strong contrasts to create a stylish and modern look. These visual choices help emphasize the dangerous and secretive world in which the characters operate. The music for the film was composed by Tyler Bates and Joel J. Richard. Their score blends electronic sounds with powerful orchestral elements, creating a soundtrack that matches the film's intense energy. The music plays an important role in building tension during action scenes and highlighting emotional moments in the story. The estimated production budget for John Wick was around $20 to $30 million. Compared to many big Hollywood action films, this was a relatively modest budget. However, the filmmakers used their resources effectively by focusing on practical stunts, strong choreography, and careful production design. At the box office, John Wick performed better than many people expected. The film earned more than $80 million worldwide during its theatrical run. While this may not seem huge compared to blockbuster franchises, the movie's strong reception and growing fan base helped it become a cult favorite. Over time, the success of the first film led to the creation of multiple sequels, turning John Wick into a major action franchise. However, everything began with this first movie, which introduced audiences to a quiet but deadly assassin whose reputation alone was enough to terrify the criminal underworld. Imagine living a quiet life after leaving behind a dangerous past, a life where you finally find peace after years of chaos and violence. This is exactly where the story of John Wick begins. The movie opens on a rainy night, showing a wounded man driving a car while bleeding heavily. The man is John Wick, and his face shows exhaustion, pain, and determination. He stops his car in front of a house and slowly walks inside. Before collapsing on the floor, he watches a video of a woman on his phone, a woman who clearly meant everything to him. The scene immediately tells us that this is not just a story about action, it's a story about loss, love, and revenge. To understand how John reached this point, the story takes us back a few days earlier. John Wick was once one of the most feared hitmen in the criminal underworld. His name alone was enough to make hardened criminals nervous. People whispered about him like he was some kind of myth or unstoppable force. But despite his terrifying reputation, John eventually left that world behind. The reason was simple: he fell in love with a woman named Helen, and for her, he walked away from the life of violence. For the first time in many years, John had something worth living for, something that gave him peace and hope. But happiness doesn't always last forever. Helen becomes seriously ill, and eventually she passes away, leaving John completely alone. Her death shatters him emotionally. The quiet house they once shared now feels empty and lifeless. The only thing John has left are memories of the life they built together. He moves through his days silently, almost like a ghost of the man he once was. Every moment feels heavy, and the loneliness slowly eats away at him. However, Helen knew John better than anyone. Before she died, she arranged one final gift for him. A few days after her funeral, a delivery arrives at John's house. Inside the box is a small beagle puppy along with a letter from Helen. In the letter, she explains that she didn't want John to be alone. She wanted him to have something to love, something that could help him heal and move forward. The puppy quickly becomes John's only companion, bringing a small spark of warmth back into his otherwise empty life. For the first time since Helen's death, we see a slight change in John. The puppy gives him a reason to smile again, even if only for a moment. One day, John takes the puppy out for a drive in his classic black 1969 Ford Mustang. The car itself is a beautiful and powerful machine, just like the man who owns it. At a gas station, a group of young Russian gangsters approaches him. The leader of the group is a spoiled and arrogant young man named Iosef Tarasov. Iosef notices John's car and becomes instantly obsessed with it. He asks John how much he wants for the Mustang. But John calmly replies that the car is not for sale. The simple answer annoys Iosef, who clearly isn't used to hearing the word no. The tension in the air becomes obvious. Iosef and his friends exchange a few threatening words with John, but John doesn't react aggressively. Instead, he quietly finishes fueling his car and drives away. However, the encounter is far from over. Later that night, while John is sleeping peacefully in his home, Iosef and his gang break into the house. What follows is a brutal and heartbreaking moment that changes everything. The gang beats John violently, leaving him barely conscious on the floor. But the worst part isn't the beating. While John struggles helplessly, Iosef cruelly kills the puppy that Helen gave him, the last symbol of hope and love in John's life. After stealing John's Mustang, the gang leaves him there in silence, unaware of the storm they have just unleashed. When John wakes up the next morning, the house feels even more empty than before. Slowly, he drags himself across the floor toward the lifeless body of the puppy. The scene is quiet, but the emotional weight is overwhelming. The one small piece of comfort he had left is gone. And in that moment, something inside John Wick changes. The grief, the pain, the anger, all of it begins to awaken the man he once was. What ISF Tarasov didn't realize is that he didn't just rob an ordinary man. He attacked a legend, a man whose name once terrified the entire criminal world. A man known by many as the Boogeyman. And now, John Wick is coming back. After the brutal attack on his home, John Wick sits silently on the floor beside the lifeless puppy. The house feels colder than ever before, and the grief inside him slowly transforms into something darker. For John, the puppy wasn't just a pet. It was Helen's final gift, a small light in the darkness of his loneliness. And now that light has been cruelly taken away. As John looks around his destroyed home, something begins to awaken inside him. The quiet, peaceful man who had buried his past is slowly disappearing. In his place, the legendary assassin that the criminal world once feared is starting to return. John carefully buries the puppy in his backyard, a simple and heartbreaking farewell to the last connection he had with Helen. Once the burial is done, he walks back inside his house with a calm but determined expression. There is no shouting, no dramatic outburst of anger. Instead, there is something far more dangerous: absolute focus. John knows exactly what must be done. The men who did this have made a mistake they will soon regret. Inside his basement, John begins to reveal pieces of his old life that he had hidden away for years. With a sledgehammer, he smashes through the concrete floor and uncovers a secret stash buried beneath it. Inside the hidden compartment are weapons, stacks of gold coins, ammunition, and equipment that once belonged to the feared hitman he used to be. Each item represents the violent world he had tried so hard to leave behind. But now that world is calling him back, and John answers without hesitation. Meanwhile, across the city, the young gangster ISF Tarasov proudly brings the stolen Mustang to a chop shop run by a man named Aurelio. Aurelio is an experienced mechanic who deals with criminals and dangerous clients every day. But when he sees the car, something immediately feels wrong. As he examines the vehicle, he quickly realizes exactly who the car belongs to. The moment he understands the truth, Aurelio's expression changes from curiosity to shock. When ISF arrogantly explains that he stole the car from a man who refused to sell it, Aurelio asks him a simple question: "Did you happen to kill his dog too?" ISF laughs casually and confirms it, clearly not understanding the seriousness of what he's done. Without warning, Aurelio punches him hard in the face. The room falls silent as everyone stares in disbelief. ISF is furious and demands an explanation, but Aurelio refuses to say anything more. Instead, he tells ISF to take the car and leave immediately. Later, Aurelio receives a phone call from John Wick. Calmly and politely, John asks if Aurelio has seen his car. Aurelio immediately apologizes, explaining that he didn't know the car belonged to John until it was too late. He also reveals the name of the man responsible, ISF Tarasov. The moment John hears the name, he knows exactly what this means. ISF isn't just some random criminal. He is the son of Vigo Tarasov, one of the most powerful crime bosses in the city. When Vigo learns what his son has done, the situation becomes even more serious. Vigo calls Aurelio to ask why he punched ISF. Aurelio responds with a simple but terrifying answer: because he stole John Wick's car and killed his dog. There is a long moment of silence on the phone. Vigo immediately understands the disaster that is about to unfold. To truly understand why Vigo reacts this way, we must understand who John Wick really is. Years ago, John worked for Vigo as his most efficient and deadly assassin. In the criminal underworld, John was known as a man who could complete impossible tasks. People whispered about him like he was something supernatural. Vigo himself once described John as the man you send to kill the boogeyman. In other words, John Wick was the nightmare that even the worst criminals feared. Eventually, John asked Vigo for one final job. In return for completing it, he would be allowed to leave the criminal world forever and live a normal life with Helen. The job was nearly impossible, but John succeeded, building the powerful criminal empire that Vigo now controls. Out of respect, Vigo allowed John to walk away. And for years, John disappeared from that violent world. But now, because of ISF's reckless actions, everything has changed. Vigo slaps his son hard across the face and angrily demands to know why he would attack someone like John Wick. ISF still doesn't understand the danger he's in. To him, John was just a quiet man with a nice car. But Vigo knows better. He knows that once John decides to take revenge, nothing will stop him. Realizing the threat, Vigo quickly gathers his men and prepares for war. He places a large bounty on John Wick's head, offering a massive reward to any assassin who can kill him before he reaches ISF. His plan is simple: overwhelm John with numbers before the legendary assassin has a chance to strike. But what Vigo fails to understand is that John Wick is no ordinary target. As night falls, John prepares himself with cold precision. He suits up, loads his weapons, and begins the hunt. The man who had once retired is now fully back in the game, and every criminal in the city will soon realize the terrible mistake that was made. With the bounty placed on his head, the entire criminal underworld suddenly turns its attention toward one man, John Wick. Assassins, mercenaries, and killers from every corner of the city now see him as a walking fortune. But while they view John as a target, they forget one important fact. John Wick has spent his entire life fighting people exactly like them. The moment Vigo Tarasov declares the bounty, the hunt begins. But it's not just criminals hunting John. In many ways, John is hunting them as well. That very night, Vigo sends a large group of armed men to John's house, hoping to eliminate him quickly before things spiral out of control. But they underestimate the man they are dealing with. When the attackers break into the house, they expect to find a wounded and grieving man. Instead, they walk directly into the territory of a legendary assassin who has already prepared for them. What follows is a brutal and intense confrontation. One by one, the attackers fall as John moves through his home with deadly precision. Every movement is controlled, every shot perfectly placed. The men realize too late that they are not fighting an ordinary person. They are facing someone who has turned combat into an art form. Within minutes, the house becomes a battlefield, and the team sent to kill John is completely wiped out. After the fight, John receives a call from Vigo himself. The crime boss tries to reason with him, offering money and negotiation, but John's response is calm and chilling. He tells Vigo exactly what he wants: ISF. Nothing else matters. Vigo refuses to give up his son, which only confirms that the conflict between them cannot be avoided. Knowing that the entire city is now searching for him, John checks into a place known as the Continental Hotel. This is no ordinary hotel. It serves as a neutral ground for assassins and criminals. Inside the Continental, there are strict rules. The most important rule is simple: no business can be conducted on hotel grounds. In other words, no killing is allowed inside the building. For assassins, this place acts as a safe zone where they can rest, recover, and prepare for their next missions. The manager of the hotel, Winston, welcomes John with quiet respect. He knows exactly who John Wick is and understands the storm that is about to unfold. Despite the bounty on John's head, Winston allows him to stay under the protection of the Continental's rules. For the moment, John has a place to plan his next move. However, not everyone is willing to respect the rules. One assassin named Ms. Perkins decides that the reward for killing John is too valuable to ignore. Late at night, she sneaks into John's room and attempts to assassinate him while he sleeps. But John is far too experienced to be caught off guard so easily. A violent struggle erupts inside the room, and after a fierce fight, John manages to overpower Perkins. Instead of killing her immediately, John uses her to gain information about Vigo and ISF's location. Meanwhile, outside the hotel, the hunt for John continues to grow more desperate. Vigo begins to realize that his attempts to stop John are failing. Every group he sends ends up dead, and the legend he once feared is proving to be very real. Eventually, John tracks ISF to a nightclub owned by Vigo. The building is packed with guards, loud music, flashing lights, and chaos. But none of that slows John down. Armed and focused, he walks into the club like a force of nature. The moment he steps inside, the tension rises instantly. What follows is one of the most intense sequences of the story. John fights his way through wave after wave of guards, moving through the nightclub with unstoppable determination. Gunshots echo through the building as panic spreads among the criminals inside. Some try to escape, while others desperately attempt to stop him. But nothing seems to work. ISF eventually spots John approaching through the chaos. For the first time, the arrogant young gangster truly understands the danger he is in. Fear takes over, and he runs for his life. Despite all of John's skill, ISF manages to escape the nightclub, leaving John to continue his hunt. But the war is far from over. As the conflict escalates, John eventually confronts Vigo's operations directly, destroying his resources and forcing the crime boss into a final confrontation. The once powerful empire Vigo built begins to crumble under the relentless pressure of one man seeking revenge. In the end, John finally catches up with ISF. There is no dramatic speech, no long conversation. The moment is quick and brutal. John executes him without hesitation, bringing justice for the dog that was taken from him and the life that was destroyed. But even after ISF's death, the story doesn't end. John and Vigo eventually face each other in one final battle near the docks. The fight is fierce and personal, but once again, John proves why his name carries so much fear. After a brutal struggle, John defeats Vigo, finally ending the conflict that began with one careless act of cruelty. The revenge is complete, but the damage to John's life cannot be undone. In the final moments of the story, John visits an animal shelter and adopts another dog. A quiet reminder that even after all the violence and loss, a small piece of hope can still exist. The legend of John Wick remains alive, and the underworld now knows one thing for certain: never take away the last thing a man loves. The story structure of John Wick is built on a clear and focused narrative that follows a classic revenge framework, but it is executed with careful pacing and layered world-building. The film moves through several distinct phases, each one revealing more about the characters, the criminal underworld, and the unstoppable force that John Wick represents. Even though the movie has a simple central goal, its storytelling keeps the audience fully engaged from beginning to end. The film begins with a brief moment that shows John Wick injured and driving his car while bleeding. This opening scene immediately creates mystery and tension. The audience does not yet know what happened to him or why he is hurt. This technique is used to pull viewers into the story before the film moves backward to show the events that led to this moment. After this short teaser, the story resets and introduces John Wick in a much quieter and emotional setting. John is shown attending the funeral of his wife, Helen. Through these early scenes, the audience learns that John has recently lost the person he loved most. The atmosphere of these moments is calm, sad, and reflective. The film carefully takes time to establish John's grief and loneliness. Soon after the funeral, John receives a delivery arranged by his late wife before her death. Inside the package is a small puppy and a letter explaining that she wanted him to have something to love so he would not feel completely alone. This moment becomes the emotional foundation of the entire story. The puppy represents hope, healing, and the last gift from someone John loved deeply. For a short time, the narrative slows down and allows the audience to see John adjusting to this small source of comfort. However, the peaceful tone of the story is suddenly interrupted when a group of criminals led by ISF Tarasov confront John at a gas station. ISF admires John's classic Mustang and tries to buy it, but John refuses to sell. That small encounter becomes the turning point of the story. Later that night, ISF and his men break into John's home. They beat him, steal his car, and kill the puppy. This brutal act destroys the last connection John had to his wife. It also triggers the true beginning of the film's main conflict. From this moment, the narrative shifts dramatically. The quiet man seen earlier disappears, and the audience begins to see glimpses of John Wick's past. When ISF brings the stolen car to a chop shop, the owner instantly recognizes the vehicle and realizes who it belongs to. The reaction of fear from this character hints at John's legendary reputation. Soon after, the story expands when Vigo Tarasov, ISF's father and a powerful crime boss, learns what his son has done. In one of the most famous scenes in the film, Viggo explains to ISF that John Wick is not just a retired assassin. He describes John as someone who once completed an impossible task that allowed him to leave the criminal world behind. This moment marks the point where the narrative widens beyond simple revenge. The audience is introduced to a secret society of assassins who follow their own rules, codes, and traditions. One of the most important locations introduced is the Continental Hotel, a neutral ground where assassins can stay safely without fear of being attacked. As the story progresses, John begins his mission of revenge. The structure of the narrative follows his methodical pursuit of the people responsible for the attack. Each step of his journey reveals more layers of the criminal network that once feared him. The middle portion of the film focuses heavily on action sequences and confrontations. However, these scenes are not random. Each encounter moves the story forward and brings John closer to ISF. The pacing remains tight, and the film avoids unnecessary distractions that could slow down the narrative. At the same time, the story introduces secondary characters who add complexity to the plot. Marcus, an old friend of John, is hired to assassinate him but secretly helps him instead. Winston, the manager of the Continental Hotel, represents the structured rules that govern the assassin world. These characters help expand the story while maintaining its central focus. As the narrative approaches its final act, the conflict between John and Viggo becomes more direct. Viggo attempts to eliminate John through traps and hired killers, but each attempt only proves how unstoppable John truly is. The tension builds steadily as the film moves toward its final confrontation. The climax occurs when John finally reaches ISF and completes the revenge that started his journey. However, the story does not end there. Viggo still seeks to destroy John, leading to a final battle between the two men. The narrative returns to the opening moment shown at the beginning of the film. The audience now understands how John ended up injured and driving through the night. This storytelling technique brings the plot full circle. In the final moments, the story slows down again. After surviving the conflict, John finds another abandoned dog at a veterinary clinic. This quiet ending mirrors the emotional beginning of the film and reminds the audience that beneath the violence, John is still a man searching for peace. This structured narrative flow, moving from grief to revenge and finally toward a small sense of healing, is what gives John Wick its powerful storytelling impact. One of the strongest elements of John Wick is the way it develops its characters while still maintaining a fast-paced action story. Even though the film focuses heavily on intense fight scenes and thrilling action sequences, the characters are not treated as simple action figures. Instead, each important character has a clear role in the story and a specific purpose that helps shape the narrative. The development of these characters, especially John Wick himself, is what makes the story feel emotionally engaging rather than just visually exciting. At the center of the film is John Wick, played by Keanu Reeves. When the audience first meets John, he is not the unstoppable assassin that people in the criminal world fear. Instead, he appears to be a quiet and grieving man who has recently lost his wife, Helen. The opening scenes of the movie show John attending her funeral and living alone in a peaceful home. These moments allow the audience to understand his emotional state before the action begins. John's early portrayal emphasizes sadness, silence, and loneliness. He barely speaks, and much of his emotion is shown through small actions rather than dialogue. This quiet beginning is important because it creates a strong contrast with the powerful and dangerous version of John that later appears in the film. The audience first sees him as a broken man, which makes his later transformation feel even more dramatic. The arrival of the puppy from his late wife becomes a major turning point in John's emotional journey. The puppy represents hope, healing, and a connection to the love he shared with Helen. For a brief period, the audience sees John beginning to recover from his grief. He shows affection toward the dog and slowly begins reconnecting with the world around him. However, this fragile healing is destroyed when ISF Tarasov and his men break into John's house, steal his car, and kill the puppy. This moment completely changes John's character arc. The quiet, grieving man disappears, and the legendary assassin begins to return. The film does not show this transformation through long speeches or emotional breakdowns. Instead, it is shown through John's actions. His determination becomes clear as he calmly prepares for revenge. What makes John Wick an interesting character is that his arc is not about becoming more powerful. He is already extremely skilled and feared at the start of the film. Instead, his development focuses on rediscovering the violent world he once escaped. Years earlier, John left the criminal underworld so he could live a normal life with his wife. Now, because of the events of the story, he is forced to return to that dangerous life. Another important character in the film is Viggo Tarasov, played by Michael Nyqvist. Viggo is a powerful Russian crime boss and the main antagonist of the story. Unlike his reckless son, Viggo understands exactly who John Wick is and why he is so dangerous. When Viggo learns that ISF attacked John, his reaction is not anger toward John but fear of what will happen next. Viggo's character represents experience and caution. He knows the rules of the criminal world and understands the consequences of crossing someone like John Wick. His role in the story is to show the audience how legendary John's reputation truly is. Even powerful crime bosses respect and fear him. ISF Tarasov, played by Alfie Allen, serves as the trigger for the entire story. ISF is young, arrogant, and careless. Unlike his father, he does not understand the world he is part of. When he attacks John Wick, he believes he is simply dealing with an ordinary man. His ignorance of John's reputation highlights the difference between experience and reckless behavior. As the story progresses, ISF's confidence slowly turns into fear. He begins to realize the consequences of his actions as John systematically hunts down everyone involved in the attack. ISF's arc is short but important because it shows how arrogance can lead to destruction. Another interesting character is Marcus, played by Willem Dafoe. Marcus is an experienced assassin and an old acquaintance of John Wick. Although he is hired by Viggo to kill John, he secretly helps him instead. Marcus represents loyalty and respect within the assassin community. His actions show that even in a violent world filled with killers, personal bonds and honor can still exist. Winston, played by Ian McShane, is another key figure in the story. As the manager of the Continental Hotel, Winston represents the structured rules that govern the hidden assassin society. His calm personality and professional attitude make him a symbol of order within a chaotic world. Winston's interactions with John suggest a long history between them, adding depth to the larger universe of the film. Sharon, the concierge of the Continental, also contributes to the world building of the story. Although his role is smaller, his polite and respectful behavior reflects the professional culture that exists among assassins. These small character details help create the sense that the assassin world operates with strict codes and traditions. Overall, the character development in John Wick focuses on transformation, reputation, and loyalty. The story shows how grief can awaken a person's past, how arrogance can lead to downfall, and how even within a violent world, respect and honor can still influence people's actions. Through these characters, the film creates a story that feels both personal and powerful. The performances in John Wick play a major role in making the film feel grounded and believable despite its highly stylized action. While the movie is widely praised for its choreography and visual storytelling, the acting is equally important in shaping the tone of the film. Each actor brings a distinct presence to their role, helping to build the mysterious and dangerous world of professional assassins. The combination of subtle emotional performances and powerful physical acting allows the characters to feel authentic within the story. At the center of the film is Keanu Reeves as John Wick. Reeves delivers a performance that relies heavily on physical expression and controlled emotion rather than long dialogue scenes. This approach works perfectly for the character. John Wick is not a man who explains his feelings with words. Instead, his emotions are communicated through small gestures, body language, and focused determination. In the early scenes of the movie, Reeves portrays John as a grieving widower struggling to adjust to life after the loss of his wife. His performance during these moments is quiet and restrained. He moves slowly, speaks very little, and often appears lost in thought. These subtle choices help establish the emotional foundation of the story. The audience understands that John is not simply angry or violent. He is a man carrying deep sadness. When the criminals break into John's house and kill the puppy his wife left him, Reeves shows a clear shift in the character without dramatically changing his personality. John does not scream or break down emotionally. Instead, Reeves communicates the character's transformation through silence and focus. His calm preparation for revenge suggests that the legendary assassin has returned. One of the most impressive aspects of Reeves' performance is his physical commitment to the role. He trained extensively in martial arts, weapons handling, and tactical movement before filming began. This preparation allows the action scenes to feel realistic and precise. Reeves performs many of the film's fight sequences himself, which helps maintain the authenticity of the combat choreography. The way Reeves moves during action scenes is a key part of his acting performance. His movements are controlled, efficient, and confident. He does not appear reckless or overly aggressive. Instead, he fights with calm precision, reflecting the character's experience as a professional assassin. This physical style reinforces the idea that John Wick is someone who has mastered his craft through years of practice. Michael Nyqvist delivers a strong performance as Viggo Tarasov, the Russian crime boss who becomes John's primary opponent. Nyqvist portrays Viggo as a man who is both powerful and deeply aware of the danger surrounding him. Unlike many villains in action films, Viggo is not blindly confident. From the moment he learns what his son has done, he understands that he is facing a serious problem. Nyqvist brings a sense of intelligence and calculation to the role. His calm voice and composed demeanor make him feel like a leader who is used to controlling situations. However, there are also moments when the audience can see genuine fear behind his actions. This combination of authority and concern adds depth to the character. Alfie Allen plays Iosif Tarasov, the reckless son whose actions start the entire conflict. Allen's performance focuses on arrogance and immaturity. At the beginning of the film, Iosif acts like someone who believes he is untouchable because of his father's power. He mocks John and shows no respect or caution. As the story progresses, Allen gradually changes the character's behavior. When Iosif learns who John Wick truly is, his confidence begins to disappear. Fear replaces arrogance as he realizes the consequences of his actions. Allen's portrayal of this shift helps illustrate how unprepared Iosif is for the reality of the world he lives in. Willem Dafoe brings a unique presence to the film as Marcus, an experienced assassin and former associate of John Wick. Dafoe's performance is quiet and thoughtful, much like Reeves' portrayal of John. Marcus speaks calmly and rarely shows strong emotion, but his actions reveal his loyalty and respect for John. Dafoe adds subtle complexity to the story. Even though Marcus is hired to kill John, he secretly protects him instead. Dafoe communicates this conflict through small expressions and carefully controlled dialogue. His performance suggests that Marcus understands John's pain and respects his mission. Ian McShane delivers a memorable performance as Winston, the manager of the Continental Hotel. McShane brings elegance and authority to the role. His calm voice and confident posture make Winston feel like someone who holds great influence within the assassin community. Winston's character represents order and tradition within the chaotic criminal world. McShane's performance emphasizes professionalism and control, making Winston appear almost untouchable in his position. His interactions with John hint at a long history between them, adding depth to their relationship. Lance Reddick also contributes a strong supporting performance as Sharon, the concierge of the Continental Hotel. Reddick plays the role with polite professionalism and quiet confidence. His respectful interactions with guests reinforce the idea that the Continental operates according to strict rules. Together, these performances create a cast of characters who feel believable within the film's unique world. The actors understand that the story relies on both emotional restraint and physical intensity. Their performances balance these elements carefully, helping John Wick feel both dramatic and thrilling at the same time. The direction of John Wick is one of the most important reasons the film became such a major success in the action genre. Directors Chad Stahelski and David Leitch approached the project with a clear creative vision that focused on precision, realism, and visual storytelling. Both directors had spent many years working as stunt performers and stunt coordinators in Hollywood, and this experience gave them a deep understanding of how action scenes should be designed and filmed. Their background allowed them to create a film where the action felt authentic, controlled, and exciting rather than chaotic or confusing. One of the most noticeable aspects of their direction is the emphasis on clarity during action sequences. Many action movies rely on rapid editing and shaky camera movements to create the illusion of intensity. However, Stahelski and Leach chose a different approach. They believed that the audience should clearly see the choreography of every fight. Because of this, the camera often stays steady and wide enough to capture the full movement of the actors. This directing style allows viewers to understand exactly what is happening during each fight scene. The audience can see every punch, every movement, and every tactical decision made by the characters. This clarity makes the action feel more realistic and satisfying. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by fast cuts, viewers can appreciate the skill and precision behind the choreography. Another key element of the director's vision is their focus on practical action. While the film does use some digital effects, the majority of the action sequences rely on real stunt work and physical performances. Keanu Reeves trained extensively to perform many of his own stunts, and the directors used this dedication to create scenes that feel grounded and believable. Stahelski and Leach also introduced a unique combat style that later became known as gunfu. This style blends traditional martial arts movements with tactical gunplay. Characters do not simply shoot from a distance. Instead, they combine close-range combat, grappling techniques, and precise shooting. The result is a style of action that feels both strategic and visually impressive. Beyond the action scenes, the directors also focused heavily on world building. One of the most interesting aspects of John Wick is the hidden society of assassins that exists beneath the normal world. Instead of explaining everything through long dialogue scenes, the directors reveal this world through small details and visual cues. For example, the gold coins used by assassins are never fully explained, but the way characters exchange them suggests a structured economic system within the criminal world. Similarly, the Continental Hotel operates under strict rules that every assassin must respect. By showing these elements rather than fully explaining them, the directors create a sense of mystery that makes the world feel larger than the main story. The directors also made strong choices in controlling the tone of the film. Even though John Wick is filled with violence, the movie rarely feels chaotic or uncontrolled. Every scene is carefully structured to maintain a balance between intensity and calm moments. The quieter scenes allow the audience to understand the emotional motivation behind John's actions. Another important part of their vision is the portrayal of John Wick as a legendary figure. Throughout the film, characters react to John's name with fear and respect. The directors emphasize this reputation by showing how other criminals respond when they realize John has returned. Instead of telling the audience how dangerous he is, the film shows it through the reactions of those who know him. Lighting and visual atmosphere also play an important role in the director's creative style. Many scenes take place at night or in dimly lit environments filled with neon lights and strong color contrasts. This visual approach creates a stylish and modern look while also reinforcing the dark nature of the criminal world. The directors carefully control pacing as well. The film moves between quiet character moments and explosive action scenes in a way that keeps the audience engaged. The story never stays slow for too long, but it also avoids constant non-stop action that might become exhausting. Another strength of the direction is the respect shown toward the actors and stunt performers. Because the directors come from stunt backgrounds, they understand the importance of choreography and timing. The camera is often positioned in ways that allow performers to fully demonstrate their movements without interruption. This respect for stunt performance helps elevate the action scenes beyond simple violence. Each fight sequence becomes a carefully designed piece of choreography, similar to a dance. The audience can see the skill and preparation involved in every movement. Overall, the direction of John Wick reflects a clear and confident vision. Stahelski and Leach understood that action films could be both visually stylish and emotionally engaging at the same time. By focusing on clarity, realism, and strong world building, they created a film that redefined modern action storytelling and set a new standard for the genre. The cinematography of John Wick plays a major role in shaping the identity of the film. While the action choreography is widely praised, the visual style of the movie is equally important in creating the atmosphere and tone that audiences remember. Cinematographer Jonathan Sela worked closely with directors Chad Stahelski and David Leitch to develop a visual approach that would make the film feel stylish, immersive, and visually distinctive. Their goal was to create a world that feels both realistic and slightly surreal, reflecting the hidden society of assassins operating beneath the surface of everyday life. One of the most noticeable elements of the cinematography is the use of lighting. The film frequently uses strong contrasts between light and darkness. Many scenes take place at night or in dim environments where bright neon lights cut through deep shadows. This lighting style gives the movie a modern neo-noir appearance, similar to classic crime films but updated with contemporary color design. Neon colors such as red, blue, and purple appear repeatedly throughout the film. These colors are often reflected in glass surfaces, wet streets, and interior lighting. This technique creates a visual environment that feels both dangerous and beautiful at the same time. The lighting does not simply illuminate the action, it also adds emotional depth and atmosphere to each scene. Another important aspect of the cinematography is the use of camera movement. The filmmakers avoid excessive shaky camera techniques that are common in many modern action films. Instead, the camera often moves smoothly and deliberately. This allows the audience to clearly follow the action without feeling disoriented. In many fight scenes, the camera is placed at a medium or wide distance from the actors. This choice allows viewers to see the entire movement of the choreography. Instead of cutting quickly between angles, the film often lets the action unfold within a single shot or with minimal editing. This style emphasizes the physical performance of the actors and stunt performers. The framing of shots also plays an important role in the film's visual storytelling. The directors and cinematographer frequently place John Wick at the center of the frame, reinforcing his role as the unstoppable force driving the story. At the same time, the surrounding environment often appears large and overwhelming, highlighting the dangerous world he is navigating. Close-up shots are used carefully throughout the film. When the camera moves close to John's face, it usually happens during quiet, emotional moments rather than during action scenes. These close-ups allow the audience to connect with John's internal emotions, particularly his grief and determination. Keanu Reeves' restrained acting style works well with this approach because small facial expressions become more powerful when shown clearly on screen. Color design is another important part of the film's visual identity. The movie uses a mix of cold and warm tones to represent different emotional states and environments. For example, the interior of the Continental Hotel often features warm, golden lighting that creates a sense of calm and order. In contrast, many of the action scenes use cooler blue and purple tones that emphasize tension and danger. The use of reflective surfaces is also a recurring visual technique. Glass, mirrors, polished floors, and wet streets appear frequently throughout the film. These reflections add visual depth to the images and sometimes create layered compositions within the frame. This technique helps make the environments feel more dynamic and visually interesting. Another notable visual element is the use of symmetrical compositions. In several scenes, the camera frames the environment in a balanced and structured way. Hallways, doorways, and architectural lines guide the viewer's eye toward the center of the frame where John Wick stands. This structured composition reinforces the idea that John moves with purpose and control through the world around him. The film also makes strong use of environmental lighting to shape the mood of each location. Nightclubs, hotels, warehouses, and city streets are all filmed with distinctive lighting styles. The nightclub scene in particular is known for its dramatic use of flashing lights, water effects, and vibrant color transitions. These elements combine to create one of the film's most visually memorable action sequences. In addition to lighting and composition, the cinematography supports the storytelling by reinforcing John Wick's reputation. The camera often follows John with smooth tracking shots that emphasize his confidence and efficiency. Instead of making him appear frantic or desperate, the visual style presents him as calm and unstoppable. The city itself becomes an important visual character in the film. Urban environments such as dark alleyways, quiet streets, and luxurious interiors help create the sense that an entire secret world exists within the city. These settings feel both familiar and mysterious at the same time. Overall, the cinematography and visual style of John Wick combine elegance with intensity. Through careful lighting, deliberate camera movement, and thoughtful composition, the film creates a visually striking world that enhances the action and deepens the storytelling. This strong visual identity is one of the key reasons the film remains so memorable to audiences. The editing and pacing of John Wick are essential elements that help the film maintain its strong momentum and clear storytelling. In many action movies, editing is used to create intensity by rapidly cutting between shots. However, John Wick takes a different approach. The film's editing focuses on clarity, rhythm, and balance between action and quieter moments. This careful editing style allows the audience to follow the story easily while still feeling the excitement of each fight scene. The film was edited by Elizabeth Ronaldsdottir, who worked closely with directors Chad Stahelski and David Leitch to create a smooth and engaging flow. Her editing style reflects the director's vision of presenting action in a clear and controlled way. Instead of using fast, confusing cuts, the film allows the choreography and performances to remain visible on screen for longer periods. One of the most noticeable editing choices in the movie is the use of longer shots during action scenes. Many fight sequences are shown with fewer cuts than typical modern action films. This allows the audience to clearly see the movements of the characters and understand how each action unfolds. By avoiding excessive cutting, the editing emphasizes the precision and skill of the combat choreography. This approach also increases the realism of the fights. When viewers can see a sequence of movements without interruption, the action feels more authentic. It becomes clear that the actors and stunt performers are performing real physical movements rather than relying on editing tricks to create excitement. Another important aspect of the editing is the rhythm created between action and quieter scenes. The film does not maintain constant high intensity from beginning to end. Instead, it alternates between moments of calm and moments of explosive action. This rhythm keeps the audience engaged while preventing the story from becoming overwhelming. For example, the film begins with slow, emotional scenes showing John Wick grieving the loss of his wife. These moments are edited with gentle pacing, allowing the audience to absorb the emotional weight of the situation. The scenes are given enough time to establish John's loneliness and sadness before the story shifts into the action-driven portion of the narrative. When the violent events begin, the editing gradually increases the pace. Fight scenes become more frequent, and the tension rises as John moves closer to his targets. Despite the increase in action, the editing still maintains clarity. Each scene is carefully structured so that viewers understand where characters are positioned and how the fight progresses. The nightclub sequence is a strong example of effective editing. In this scene, John enters a crowded nightclub while searching for Isef Tarasov. The editing moves between different areas of the building, including the dance floor, hallways, and swimming pool. Even though multiple events are happening at the same time, the editing keeps the story easy to follow. The film also uses editing to show the reactions of different characters to John Wick's return. Short scenes are inserted where criminals react with fear after hearing that John has come back. These moments are placed strategically throughout the story to build tension and reinforce John's legendary reputation. Another effective editing technique is the use of parallel storytelling. At several points in the film, the editing shifts between John preparing for his mission and Viggo Tarasov organizing his defense. By showing both sides of the conflict, the film increases suspense. The audience knows that both characters are preparing for a confrontation, which makes each encounter more exciting. The pacing of the film also benefits from its relatively short runtime. At just over 100 minutes, the story moves quickly without unnecessary distractions. Scenes are rarely extended longer than necessary, and every moment serves a purpose in advancing the plot or developing the characters. Transitions between scenes are handled smoothly, helping the story maintain a natural flow. The film often uses visual continuity to move from one location to another. For example, The camera may follow John leaving one area and then cut to him arriving at a new location. This technique keeps the narrative moving forward without feeling abrupt. The editing also supports the emotional tone of the story. Quiet moments are allowed to breathe, giving the audience time to understand John's motivation. These calmer scenes contrast strongly with the intense action sequences, making the violence feel more impactful when it occurs. Music and sound effects are also carefully synchronized with the editing rhythm. Gunshots, punches, and movement often align with the beat of the soundtrack, creating a sense of controlled energy. This coordination between sound and editing enhances the overall viewing experience. Overall, the editing and pacing of John Wick demonstrate how careful structure can strengthen an action film. By prioritizing clarity, rhythm, and balance, the film avoids many common problems found in modern action movies. The result is a story that feels smooth, exciting, and easy for the audience to follow from beginning to end. Sound design, music, and the overall score play a powerful role in shaping the atmosphere of John Wick. While the film is widely praised for its visual style and action choreography, the audio elements are equally important in creating tension, excitement, and emotional depth. The combination of carefully designed sound effects, energetic music, and a distinctive musical score helps immerse the audience in the dangerous world of professional assassins. The music for John Wick was composed by Tyler Bates and Joel J. Richard. Their approach to the score blends electronic sounds with orchestral elements to create a modern and intense musical identity. Instead of relying on traditional action music that uses only large orchestral arrangements, the composers introduced electronic beats and synthetic textures. This combination gives the film a contemporary tone that matches its stylish visuals and urban setting. The score often uses deep bass tones, sharp rhythmic patterns, and dark melodic themes. These musical elements help reinforce the mysterious and dangerous nature of the world in which the story takes place. When John Wick prepares for action, the music builds slowly with steady rhythms that create anticipation. The audience can feel the tension rising even before the fight begins. One of the most effective aspects of the score is its ability to reflect John Wick's personality. The music rarely feels chaotic or uncontrolled. Instead, it often follows a steady and focused rhythm, mirroring John's calm and calculated behavior. Even during intense action scenes, the music maintains a sense of control and precision. The composers also use musical themes to represent different emotional moments in the story. For example, the scenes connected to John's memories of his wife often feature softer and more emotional music. These quieter musical pieces create a strong contrast with the aggressive energy of the action sequences. This contrast reminds the audience that beneath the violence, the story is driven by personal loss and grief. In addition to the original score, the film includes several licensed songs that contribute to the overall atmosphere. These songs are carefully placed within specific scenes to enhance the mood. Electronic and rock-influenced tracks appear during club scenes and high-energy moments, reinforcing the modern urban environment of the story. One of the most memorable uses of music occurs during the nightclub sequence. In this scene, loud electronic music fills the environment while John moves through the building searching for Isef Tarasov. The pulsing beat of the music blends with the action, creating a rhythm that matches the intensity of the fight. The music becomes part of the environment rather than simply background sound. Sound design also plays a critical role in making the action feel realistic and impactful. Every gunshot, punch, and movement is carefully crafted to create a sense of physical presence. The sound of weapons is particularly important in this film because gunfights are a central part of the action. The sound designers made sure that each weapon has a distinct and powerful sound. Gunshots echo sharply through hallways and rooms, emphasizing the danger of every encounter. Instead of blending into background noise, the sound of gunfire remains clear and controlled, allowing the audience to feel the intensity of each moment. The film also pays attention to the small sounds that accompany movement and physical contact. The sound of footsteps, fabric movement, and bodies hitting the ground adds realism to the fight sequences. These details make the combat feel grounded and believable. Another important element of the sound design is the use of silence. In several scenes, the music disappears completely, leaving only the natural sounds of the environment. This technique increases tension because it allows the audience to focus on the smallest details of the scene. Silence can often feel more intense than loud music when used at the right moment. Dialogue is also mixed carefully with the rest of the sound elements. Many characters in the film speak calmly and quietly, which reflects the professional and controlled nature of the assassin world. The sound design ensures that these quieter conversations remain clear even when surrounded by complex background sounds. The Continental Hotel scenes provide a good example of balanced sound design. Inside the hotel, the environment feels calm and controlled. Background sounds are softer, and the music is often minimal. This peaceful atmosphere reflects the rules that prevent violence inside the building. As the story moves toward its final confrontation, the music and sound effects become more intense. The score builds tension while the sound design emphasizes the chaos of the battle. However, the audio never becomes overwhelming. The balance between music, dialogue, and effects remains carefully controlled. Overall, the sound design, music, and score of John Wick work together to create a powerful sensory experience. The combination of electronic music, detailed sound effects, and strategic use of silence strengthens the emotional impact of the story and enhances the excitement of the action scenes. These audio elements play a crucial role in making the film feel immersive and memorable. The production design of John Wick plays a crucial role in shaping the film's unique atmosphere and helping the audience believe in the hidden world of professional assassins. Production design involves the visual environment of the movie, including the sets, locations, props, and overall aesthetic of the spaces where the story takes place. In John Wick, every location feels carefully crafted to reflect the mysterious and structured underworld that exists alongside normal city life. The production design team focused on creating a world that feels both realistic and stylized. The film takes place primarily in New York City, but the way the locations are presented gives the city a slightly heightened and cinematic appearance. Instead of showing everyday streets in a completely natural way, the environments are designed to appear darker, more controlled, and more visually dramatic. One of the most important locations in the film is John Wick's house. The house is introduced early in the story and serves as a symbol of the peaceful life John once had. The design of the home reflects simplicity, comfort, and emotional warmth. The space feels quiet and personal, filled with soft lighting and calm surroundings. The house represents John's attempt to live a normal life after leaving the violent world of assassins. However, this peaceful setting is destroyed when criminals break into the house, steal his car, and kill the puppy his wife left him. The attack on this carefully designed space visually represents the destruction of John's quiet life and the return of his violent past. Another key location in the film is the Continental Hotel. This hotel is one of the most memorable elements of the movie's world building. The Continental serves as a neutral ground for assassins where no violence is allowed. The design of the hotel reflects elegance, order, and professionalism. Inside the Continental, the environment feels luxurious and controlled. The lobby features warm lighting, polished floors, and classic architectural details. The design gives the impression that this location has existed for many years and operates under strict traditions. The calm atmosphere contrasts strongly with the dangerous world outside its walls. The hotel rooms and hallways also follow this elegant design style. Every element of the space suggests that the assassins who visit the Continental are part of an organized and professional community rather than random criminals. The careful design of the hotel reinforces the idea that the assassin world follows its own rules and systems. Another visually important location in the film is the nightclub where one of the major action sequences takes place. This setting is designed to feel energetic, crowded, and visually intense. The nightclub features flashing lights, colorful neon effects, and reflective surfaces that enhance the visual excitement of the scene. The production design of the nightclub also includes multiple levels and spaces, such as dance floors, corridors, and a pool area. This layered design allows the action to move through different environments while maintaining visual variety. The lighting and structure of the nightclub help create one of the film's most memorable action sequences. Urban environments also play an important role in the production design. Streets, parking garages, warehouses, and back alleys appear throughout the story. These locations help establish the dangerous criminal world that operates within the city. The filmmakers often chose locations with strong architectural features such as long hallways, concrete walls, and narrow pathways. These environments support the film's visual style by creating spaces where tension can build naturally. Long corridors and tight spaces make confrontations feel more intense because characters cannot easily escape. The design of these areas also allows the action choreography to unfold in a clear and visually interesting way. Props are another important part of the production design. Items such as gold coins, weapons, and specialized equipment help build the world of the assassins. The gold coins in particular become a recognizable symbol of the secret economy that exists within this hidden society. Even though the film never fully explains the value of the coins, their consistent use helps establish the structure of the assassin community. The design of vehicles also contributes to the film's visual identity. John Wick's car, a classic Ford Mustang, represents his personal connection to his past life and memories. The car is treated almost like a character itself because it is the object that triggers the entire conflict of the story. Costume design also works closely with the production design. Many characters wear formal clothing such as suits and ties, even during violent encounters. This choice reinforces the idea that the assassins operate with a sense of professionalism and discipline. Overall, the production design of John Wick successfully creates a world that feels believable yet stylized. Through carefully designed locations, detailed props, and visually distinctive environments, the film builds a unique setting that supports the story's action, emotion, and mystery. The visual effects and practical effects used in John Wick play an important role in making the film's action feel realistic, intense, and believable. Unlike many modern action movies that depend heavily on computer-generated imagery, John Wick relies mainly on practical effects and real stunt work. This approach helps the movie maintain a grounded and physical style that audiences can easily connect with. The filmmakers believed that action scenes would feel more powerful if the audience could see real movement, real environments, and real physical performances. Because of this philosophy, directors Chad Stahelski and David Leitch designed the film to use practical effects whenever possible. Their experience as stunt performers and coordinators strongly influenced this decision. One of the most important practical elements in the film is the fight choreography itself. Every combat sequence was carefully planned and rehearsed before filming began. Actors and stunt performers trained extensively so that the movements would look natural and precise on camera. Instead of relying on digital tricks to simulate combat, the filmmakers allowed the actors to perform the majority of the action physically. Keanu Reeves committed fully to the physical demands of the role. He trained for months in martial arts, tactical shooting, and defensive movement techniques. This preparation allowed him to perform many of his own stunts during filming. Because Reeves could perform these movements himself, the camera was able to stay closer to the action without needing to hide the actor's face. This decision greatly improved the realism of the film. When viewers see the main actor performing complex fight movements directly on screen, the action feels authentic. The audience can believe that John Wick truly possesses the skills shown in the story. Weapons effects are another important part of the film's practical design. Many of the gunshots seen in the movie were created using blank ammunition and real prop firearms. These practical weapon effects allow the actors to react naturally to the recoil and sound of the weapons. This creates a stronger sense of realism during gunfight scenes. However, some digital effects were still used to enhance safety and visual accuracy. For example, small computer-generated muzzle flashes were sometimes added to make gunfire appear more realistic. Blood effects were also occasionally enhanced with digital tools to maintain consistency during action scenes. These digital additions are subtle and designed to support the practical effects rather than replace them. Another area where practical effects play an important role is environmental interaction. When characters crash through glass, fall onto surfaces, or collide with objects, many of these moments are performed using real breakaway materials and stunt techniques. Special glass designed for stunt work allows performers to safely crash through windows or mirrors while still creating the appearance of real impact. Explosions and environmental destruction are also handled with a mix of practical and digital techniques. Small explosive charges are sometimes used to simulate bullet impacts on walls or objects. These physical effects create visible debris and sparks that make the action scenes feel more intense and believable. The nightclub sequence provides a good example of how practical effects are used to enhance the visual experience. During this scene, water pours down from the ceiling while colorful lights flash across the environment. The water, lighting, and physical set design create a dynamic environment where the action can unfold. The interaction between performers and the environment makes the scene feel energetic and immersive. The filmmakers also paid close attention to how characters move during combat. The fighting style used in the film combines martial arts techniques with close-range gun tactics. This approach, often referred to as gun fu, requires performers to execute precise movements that blend shooting and hand-to-hand combat. Because the action relies on real choreography rather than computer-generated movement, the physical performances become a key visual element. Each punch, kick, and defensive maneuver is carefully timed and executed to maintain realism. Digital visual effects are used sparingly throughout the film. Their primary purpose is to support the practical elements rather than dominate the screen. For example, digital effects may be used to remove safety wires during stunt sequences or to adjust the appearance of certain backgrounds. This restrained use of visual effects helps maintain the grounded tone of the movie. The audience rarely notices the digital enhancements because they are blended smoothly with the real footage. Another advantage of practical effects is the way they influence actor performances. When performers interact with real objects and environments, their reactions feel more genuine. This authenticity strengthens the emotional and physical impact of each scene. Overall, the combination of practical effects and minimal digital enhancement gives John Wick a distinctive visual identity. By prioritizing real stunt work, realistic weapon effects, and carefully designed environments, the film creates action sequences that feel powerful and believable. This commitment to practical filmmaking is one of the reasons why the action scenes in John Wick remain memorable and influential in the modern action genre. The dialogue and screenplay of John Wick play a key role in shaping the film's tone, characters, and mysterious world. The screenplay was written by Derek Kolstad, who created a story that combines a simple revenge narrative with a deeper and more structured criminal underworld. While the film is widely known for its action scenes, the screenplay provides the emotional foundation and narrative structure that allow the action to feel meaningful rather than random. One of the most distinctive features of the screenplay is its simplicity. The core story is easy to understand. A retired assassin seeks revenge after criminals kill the puppy his late wife left him. This simple motivation allows the audience to connect emotionally with the character. Even viewers who are unfamiliar with the world of assassins can understand John Wick's personal pain and desire for justice. Instead of complicating the story with unnecessary subplots, the screenplay focuses on a clear objective. John Wick wants to find and punish the people responsible for destroying the last symbol of his connection to his wife. This direct narrative keeps the story focused and allows the film to maintain strong momentum. Another important aspect of the screenplay is the way it introduces the hidden assassin society. Rather than explaining every detail through long speeches or heavy exposition, the script reveals this world gradually through short conversations and subtle interactions. Characters speak about rules, locations, and traditions without fully explaining them. For example, the audience learns about the Continental Hotel and its rule that no killing is allowed on the property. This information is delivered naturally through dialogue rather than lengthy explanations. The script trusts the audience to understand the importance of these rules by observing how characters behave. The dialogue in John Wick is often minimal and controlled. Many characters speak calmly and carefully, reflecting the professional nature of the assassin community. Instead of dramatic emotional speeches, conversations are usually short and direct. This style of dialogue fits the tone of the film and reinforces the idea that these characters operate with discipline and restraint. John Wick himself speaks very little throughout the movie. His character communicates more through actions than words. When he does speak, his lines are usually brief and purposeful. This choice strengthens the mysterious nature of his character. The audience does not need to hear long explanations from John because his actions reveal his determination and skill. One of the most famous moments of dialogue occurs when Viggo Tarasov explains who John Wick truly is. In this scene, Viggo tells his son that John was once the most feared assassin in the criminal world. He describes John as someone who completed an impossible task that allowed him to retire from the underworld. This conversation is important because it builds John's legendary reputation before the audience fully sees his abilities in action. The screenplay uses this moment to create anticipation. By hearing other characters describe John's past, viewers begin to understand why everyone fears him. The screenplay also uses dialogue to highlight the contrast between experienced criminals and reckless newcomers. ISF Tarasov, for example, speaks with arrogance and confidence early in the film. He insults John Wick without realizing who he is. This careless dialogue reveals ISF's lack of experience and understanding. As the story progresses, ISF's dialogue becomes more fearful. His tone changes as he begins to understand the consequences of his actions. This shift in dialogue reflects the character's growing realization that he has made a serious mistake. Another interesting aspect of the screenplay is the way it introduces humor in subtle ways. The film is mostly serious, but small moments of dry humor appear in certain conversations. These moments often come from characters who remain calm even in dangerous situations. Winston, the manager of the Continental Hotel, provides several examples of this quiet humor. His polite and professional manner contrasts with the violent world around him. Even when discussing serious matters, he speaks with calm sophistication. The screenplay also focuses on building the mythology of the assassin world. References to gold coins, professional codes, and long-standing relationships between characters hint at a much larger system operating behind the scenes. These elements are introduced naturally through dialogue rather than through heavy explanations. This approach allows the world of John Wick to feel larger than the single story being told. The audience senses that there are many more stories and characters connected to this secret society. Another strength of the screenplay is its pacing. Dialogue scenes are usually brief and placed between action sequences. These moments give the audience time to understand the motivations of the characters before the story moves forward again. By balancing dialogue with action, the screenplay keeps the film engaging without slowing the pace too much. Conversations serve a purpose and help develop the story without becoming overly complicated. Overall, the dialogue and screenplay of John Wick demonstrate how a simple story can become powerful when supported by strong character moments, controlled dialogue, and effective world building. The script provides the structure that allows the film's action, emotion, and mystery to work together successfully. John Wick is primarily known as an action thriller, but the film successfully blends several genres to create a unique and engaging experience. While the core of the story follows the structure of a revenge-driven action movie, the film also incorporates elements of crime drama, neo-noir, and even subtle emotional drama. The careful execution of these genres allows the movie to feel deeper and more stylish than many typical action films. The action genre is the most dominant element of the movie. From the moment John Wick begins his mission of revenge, the film delivers a series of intense combat scenes, gunfights, and chases. However, the way the action is presented distinguishes the film from many other movies in the same genre. Instead of chaotic editing or exaggerated explosions, the action in John Wick focuses on precision and choreography. The fights are carefully designed and structured almost like a form of physical storytelling. Each movement has a purpose, and every confrontation pushes the story forward. This method of presenting action gives the movie a sense of realism and control. The audience can clearly follow the sequence of events during each fight, which helps the scenes feel more impactful. Another important genre influence in the film is crime drama. The story takes place within an organized criminal world that operates with its own rules and hierarchies. Characters such as Viggo Tarasov represent powerful figures within this underworld. Their interactions reveal a structured network of criminals who respect certain codes of conduct. The presence of the Continental Hotel adds another layer to the crime-drama aspect of the story. The hotel functions as a neutral territory where assassins can gather without fear of violence. This concept suggests that the criminal world has developed systems and traditions that help maintain balance among dangerous individuals. The film also incorporates strong elements of neo-noir style. Neo-noir is a modern form of classic film noir, known for its dark atmosphere, morally complex characters, and dramatic lighting. John Wick uses many visual and narrative techniques that reflect this style. For example, much of the film takes place at night, with scenes illuminated by neon lights and deep shadows. The environments often feel mysterious and dangerous. Characters exist in a morally gray world where violence is a normal part of life. These elements give the movie a stylish noir atmosphere that enhances the storytelling. Despite the heavy focus on action and crime, the film also contains an emotional dramatic layer. The story begins with John Wick grieving the loss of his wife. This emotional starting point adds depth to the character and gives the audience a reason to care about his journey. The death of the puppy, which was a final gift from his wife, becomes the emotional trigger for the entire narrative. Because of this emotional context, the audience understands that John's mission is not driven by simple anger or greed. His actions are connected to grief, love, and the loss of a peaceful life. This emotional layer helps the story stand out from other revenge-based action films. The film also handles tone shifts very carefully. At the beginning of the movie, the tone is quiet and reflective. The audience sees John living alone, struggling with his grief. These scenes move slowly and focus on emotional atmosphere rather than excitement. Once the criminals attack John's home, the tone shifts dramatically. The story becomes darker and more intense as John returns to the violent world he once left behind. The pacing increases and action scenes begin to dominate the narrative. However, the film does not remain constantly intense. Between action sequences, the story returns to calmer moments where characters discuss plans or interact within the assassin community. These quieter scenes allow the audience to understand the world of the film more clearly. The nightclub scene provides a good example of how the movie blends genres and tones. The environment is energetic and colorful, filled with music and flashing lights. At the same time, the scene contains one of the film's most violent confrontations. The combination of stylish visuals, loud music, and precise combat creates a tone that feels both thrilling and dangerous. Another tone shift occurs whenever the story moves to the Continental Hotel. Inside the hotel, the atmosphere becomes calm and controlled. Characters speak politely and follow strict rules. This peaceful tone contrasts sharply with the chaos and violence happening outside. These shifts in tone help maintain balance throughout the movie. If the film remained constantly aggressive, the action might lose its impact. By alternating between calm and intensity, the story keeps the audience engaged. Overall, John Wick successfully executes multiple genres while maintaining a consistent identity. The film blends action, crime drama, neo-noir style, and emotional storytelling in a way that feels natural and engaging. These genre combinations help create a movie that is both visually exciting and emotionally meaningful. While John Wick is widely known for its intense action scenes and stylish combat choreography, the film also explores several deeper themes that give the story emotional meaning. Beneath the gunfights and revenge-driven narrative lies a story about grief, loss, consequences, loyalty, and the difficulty of escaping one's past. These themes help transform the film from a simple action movie into a more thoughtful and emotionally grounded experience. One of the most important themes in John Wick is grief and loss. At the beginning of the film, the audience is introduced to John Wick as a man who has recently lost his wife, Helen. Her death has left him emotionally broken and isolated from the world around him. The quiet scenes of John attending her funeral and living alone in his home show a man struggling to cope with a deep personal loss. The puppy that Helen arranged to be delivered to John after her death represents a symbol of hope and healing. In her letter, she explains that the puppy is meant to give John something to love so he will not feel completely alone. The puppy is not simply a pet. It represents the last emotional connection John has to the woman he loved. When the criminals break into John's home and kill the puppy, they destroy that final symbol of comfort. This act is what triggers the entire story. The film uses this moment to show how grief can transform into anger when a person feels that everything meaningful has been taken away. Another major theme in the film is revenge and justice. John Wick's mission is driven by his desire to punish the people responsible for the attack on his home and the death of the puppy. However, the story presents revenge as both powerful and dangerous. John's actions bring him back into a violent world that he had once managed to escape. The film suggests that revenge can provide temporary satisfaction, but it also has consequences. As John continues his mission, the number of enemies he creates grows larger. His return to the assassin world draws attention from powerful figures who once feared him. The story shows that acts of violence often create cycles that are difficult to break. The theme of consequences is closely connected to the idea of personal responsibility. Yusef Tarasov begins the story as a reckless and arrogant young criminal who believes he can act without facing serious consequences. When he attacks John Wick, he does not understand the gravity of his actions. As the story progresses, Yusef gradually realizes that he has made a terrible mistake. His arrogance is replaced with fear as John systematically eliminates the people involved in the attack. Through this character, the film shows how careless actions can lead to devastating results. Another important theme in the film is the idea of reputation and legacy. John Wick is not feared simply because of his fighting skills. He is feared because of the stories and legends surrounding his past. Characters throughout the movie react with shock or concern when they learn that John has returned. This theme highlights the power of reputation within the criminal underworld. John's name alone creates fear among powerful criminals. The film suggests that a person's past actions can define how others see them, even years later. The theme of loyalty is also present in several relationships within the story. Marcus, an experienced assassin and old associate of John Wick, demonstrates loyalty by secretly protecting John even though he was hired to kill him. His actions suggest that respect and personal bonds can still exist within a world filled with violence. Winston, the manager of the Continental Hotel, also represents a form of professional loyalty. He follows the strict rules of the assassin community while still showing a level of respect for John. His character illustrates how order and tradition can exist even in dangerous environments. Another key theme in John Wick is the difficulty of escaping one's past. John had retired from the assassin world in order to live a peaceful life with his wife. However, the events of the story force him back into that violent environment. The film suggests that some past experiences leave permanent marks on a person's life. Even though John tried to leave the criminal world behind, his skills and reputation remain connected to him. When tragedy strikes, he returns to the life he once abandoned. The final theme explored in the film is the search for peace. Despite the intense violence of the story, John Wick is ultimately a man who once wanted a quiet and normal life. The ending scene, where John adopts another dog from a veterinary clinic, hints that he may still be searching for some form of emotional healing. Overall, the themes of grief, revenge, consequences, loyalty, reputation, and personal struggle give John Wick a deeper emotional foundation. These ideas help explain the motivations of the characters and provide meaning behind the film's intense action. Although John Wick is widely recognized as a stylish action film, the story also contains several symbolic elements and hidden meanings that add depth to the narrative. These symbols help communicate emotional ideas without always using direct dialogue. Through visual choices, character actions, and recurring objects, the film explores themes of grief, identity, morality, and the struggle between violence and peace. One of the most powerful symbols in the film is the puppy that John Wick receives after his wife's death. On the surface, the puppy is simply a small gift meant to comfort John during a difficult time. However, the deeper meaning behind the puppy represents hope, love, and emotional recovery. John's wife arranged for the puppy to be delivered after she passed away because she understood that John might struggle with loneliness and sadness. The puppy symbolizes the possibility of healing. It represents the idea that life can continue even after tragedy. For John, The dog becomes a living reminder of the love he shared with his wife. The animal is innocent and vulnerable, which contrasts strongly with the violent world John once belonged to. When the criminals break into John's home and kill the puppy, they destroy more than just a pet. Symbolically, they destroy John's final connection to his peaceful life. The act represents the death of hope and the return of the violent identity that John had tried to leave behind. Another important symbol in the film is John Wick's car, the classic Ford Mustang. The car is more than just a vehicle. It represents John's past and his personal identity. The car is connected to memories of a time before his wife's death and before the events that forced him back into the assassin world. When Isf Tarasov steals the car, he unknowingly takes something that holds deep emotional meaning for John. The theft of the car symbolizes the invasion of John's personal life by the criminal world he once escaped. It is another reminder that his peaceful life has been disrupted. The gold coins used throughout the film are another important symbol. These coins serve as a form of currency within the secret assassin society. However, their meaning goes beyond simple payment. The coins represent trust, honor, and participation in a structured community of professionals. Every time a character exchanges a gold coin, it shows that they are following the rules and traditions of the assassin world. The coins symbolize membership in a hidden system that operates with its own codes of behavior. This system exists parallel to the normal world but follows completely different values. The Continental Hotel is also a powerful symbolic location in the film. On the surface, it is simply a hotel where assassins can stay. However, the rules that govern the Continental give it deeper meaning. Inside the hotel, no violence is allowed. This rule creates a rare space of order within a chaotic world. Symbolically, the Continental represents a form of balance. Even within a violent society, certain boundaries exist that must be respected. The hotel serves as a reminder that structure and discipline can exist even among people who live dangerous lives. Another symbol present in the film is John Wick himself. Throughout the story, John is treated almost like a mythical figure. Other characters speak about him with fear and respect, describing him as someone who once completed impossible tasks. His nickname, Baba Yaga, adds to this symbolic identity. In traditional folklore, Baba Yaga is a mysterious and powerful figure associated with danger and unpredictability. By giving John this nickname, the film suggests that he is more than just a skilled fighter. He represents an unstoppable force of consequence for those who break certain rules. The lighting and visual design of the film also carry symbolic meaning. Many scenes are filled with neon lights and strong color contrasts. These visual choices create an atmosphere that feels both modern and dreamlike. The use of shadows and reflections often suggests the hidden nature of the assassin world. Mirrors and reflective surfaces appear frequently throughout the film. These reflections can symbolize the dual identity of John Wick. On one side, he is a grieving husband who once tried to live a peaceful life. On the other side, he is a deadly assassin capable of extreme violence. The contrast between these two identities forms one of the central symbolic ideas of the story. John is constantly moving between the world he wanted and the world he cannot escape. Even the final scene of the film carries symbolic meaning. After surviving the conflict, John rescues another dog from a veterinary clinic. This moment suggests that despite the violence he has returned to, he still seeks some form of emotional healing. Overall, the symbolism and hidden meanings in John Wick help deepen the emotional impact of the story. Through objects, locations, and visual choices, the film communicates ideas about loss, identity, and the consequences of violence without always needing direct explanation. Although John Wick is primarily known as a stylish action thriller, the film also reflects several social and cultural ideas that can be interpreted through its story and characters. While the movie does not directly present political arguments or heavy social debates, it subtly explores themes related to modern society, power structures, violence, personal responsibility, and the consequences of privilege. These underlying ideas give the film a deeper context beyond its surface-level action narrative. One of the most noticeable social ideas in the film involves the concept of consequences and accountability. The story begins because of the careless behavior of Isf Tarasov, the son of a powerful crime boss. Isf acts with arrogance and confidence because he believes his father's power protects him from facing serious consequences. This attitude reflects a broader social commentary about individuals who misuse privilege or authority. Isf's actions represent a common cultural issue where people who grow up with wealth or power sometimes believe they are above the rules. When he attacks John Wick, he does so without understanding the seriousness of his actions. The film shows how dangerous this kind of arrogance can be. His behavior triggers a chain of events that ultimately destroys many lives within the criminal world. Another social theme explored in the film is the idea of structured systems within society. The assassin world in John Wick operates with its own set of rules, codes, and traditions. The presence of places like the Continental Hotel and the use of gold coins suggest that even criminals organize themselves into systems that resemble real social institutions. These structures mirror aspects of real-world organizations such as governments, corporations, or professional communities. Members follow specific rules and face consequences if they break them. The rule that forbids violence inside the Continental Hotel shows how even dangerous individuals can agree to respect certain boundaries in order to maintain stability. The film also touches on the cultural fascination with reputation and legacy. Within the assassin world, John Wick's reputation is more powerful than his physical presence. Many characters react with fear simply when they hear his name. This idea reflects how reputation can shape a person's influence in society. In many professional or social environments, a person's past achievements or actions can define how others perceive them. John's legendary reputation allows him to command respect even before he appears in a scene. The film suggests that a strong reputation can act as a form of power within a structured system. Another cultural element present in the movie is the idea of professionalism and discipline. Many characters in the assassin world behave in ways that resemble trained professionals rather than chaotic criminals. They follow rules, honor agreements, and maintain respectful interactions even when dealing with dangerous situations. For example, Winston, the manager of the Continental Hotel, conducts business with calm authority and strict adherence to rules. The hotel staff treat guests with politeness and respect regardless of their violent professions. This portrayal reflects the cultural value placed on professionalism and organized behavior. The film also explores the cultural theme of personal identity and reinvention. John Wick once left the assassin world in order to live a peaceful life with his wife. His attempt to change his identity reflects a broader human desire to escape past mistakes or difficult histories. Many people in society attempt to redefine themselves by leaving behind earlier parts of their lives. However, the story suggests that the past can remain connected to a person even after they try to move on. When tragedy strikes John's life, his former identity as an assassin quickly returns. This reflects the cultural idea that some aspects of personal history are difficult to completely erase. The film also indirectly comments on modern urban life. The story takes place in a large city where ordinary citizens go about their daily lives without realizing that a hidden criminal society exists around them. This idea reflects the complexity of modern cities, where different communities and systems operate side by side. The contrast between everyday life and the secret assassin world suggests that many aspects of society remain invisible to those who are not directly involved. This theme highlights the layered nature of urban environments, where multiple social structures can exist simultaneously. Violence in the film can also be viewed as a form of commentary on the consequences of power struggles. The criminal organizations in the story constantly compete for control and survival. Their conflicts demonstrate how violence often becomes a tool used by groups seeking dominance or revenge. Despite the intense violence shown in the movie, the story does not celebrate chaos. Instead, it shows that violent actions usually lead to further consequences and retaliation. The chain of events triggered by ISF's actions demonstrates how quickly violence can escalate when people refuse to accept responsibility. Overall, while John Wick focuses primarily on action and entertainment, it also contains subtle commentary about privilege, responsibility, reputation, and social structures. These ideas are woven naturally into the story, allowing the film to explore deeper cultural themes without interrupting the flow of the narrative. John Wick is filled with several powerful and memorable scenes that help define the film as one of the most influential modern action movies. These moments stand out not only because of their intense action but also because of the emotions, storytelling, and visual style attached to them. Each major scene contributes to the overall journey of the character and strengthens the film's impact on the audience. One of the most important and emotionally powerful scenes occurs near the beginning of the film when John receives the puppy from his late wife. The moment is quiet and deeply personal. John opens the package and reads the letter left by Helen, explaining that the puppy is meant to help him cope with the loneliness he might feel after her death. This scene establishes the emotional foundation of the entire story. The gentle interaction between John and the puppy shows a rare moment of peace in his life. The audience sees a man trying to move forward after experiencing a deep loss. This scene becomes even more impactful because the puppy later becomes the symbol that triggers the entire revenge story. Another unforgettable moment happens when Isef Tarasov and his men break into John Wick's home. The scene begins with tension as the criminals quietly enter the house during the night. The situation quickly becomes violent when they attack John, steal his car, and kill the puppy. This scene is shocking and emotionally intense. The audience understands that the criminals have destroyed the last piece of hope John had left. The moment changes the entire direction of the story and marks the beginning of John's transformation back into the feared assassin he once was. One of the most famous scenes in the movie occurs when Viggo Tarasov learns what his son has done. In this scene, Viggo explains to Isef who John Wick really is. He tells the story of John's past and how he once completed an impossible task that allowed him to retire from the assassin world. This conversation has become one of the most iconic scenes in the film because it builds John's reputation through storytelling. The audience begins to understand that John Wick is not simply a skilled fighter. He is a legendary figure within the criminal world. The fear in Viggo's voice shows just how dangerous John truly is. Another memorable scene takes place when John visits the Continental Hotel. This location introduces the audience to the secret society of assassins that operates within the city. The calm and elegant atmosphere of the hotel contrasts strongly with the violence happening outside. The introduction of Winston, the manager of the hotel, adds another layer to the world building of the story. His polite and professional behavior shows that even within a violent community, strict rules and traditions exist. This scene expands the universe of the film and makes the assassin world feel larger and more organized. The nightclub action sequence is widely considered one of the most exciting scenes in the entire movie. John enters the nightclub while searching for Isef Tarasov. The environment is filled with flashing lights, loud music, and crowded dance floors. The combination of vibrant lighting and fast-paced combat creates an unforgettable visual experience. As John moves through the club, the action unfolds across multiple levels of the building. The fight choreography is clear and precise, allowing the audience to follow every movement. The use of water, reflections, and colorful lighting adds to the dramatic energy of the scene. Another powerful moment occurs when John confronts several assassins sent by Viggo to eliminate him. These encounters demonstrate John's extraordinary combat abilities and tactical thinking. The audience sees how efficiently he moves through dangerous situations while remaining calm and focused. The scene where Marcus secretly helps John instead of killing him is also very important. Marcus fires his sniper rifle to protect John during a dangerous situation. This moment shows the loyalty and respect that exists between the two characters. It also highlights the idea that not everyone in the assassin world is driven purely by profit or revenge. The final confrontation between John Wick and Viggo Tarasov is another memorable part of the film. After a long series of conflicts and battles, the two characters face each other directly. This moment represents the climax of the entire story. The fight between them is intense and emotional because it represents the final stage of John's revenge journey. The audience understands that this confrontation is the result of every event that happened earlier in the film. The closing scene of the movie is quiet and reflective. John, injured and exhausted, finds another abandoned dog at a veterinary clinic. He decides to take the dog with him as he slowly walks away from the violent events that have just occurred. This final moment mirrors the emotional beginning of the film. It suggests that despite everything he has done, John Wick is still searching for some form of peace and healing. John Wick quickly became one of the most recognizable action films of the modern era, and part of its impact comes from how it compares to other movies in the same genre. While revenge-driven action stories have existed for many decades, John Wick introduced a fresh style that made it stand out from similar films. When compared with other action movies, the film shows both clear influences from earlier works and new ideas that helped reshape the genre. One of the most common comparisons made with John Wick is the Taken series starring Liam Neeson. Both films focus on a central character who possesses exceptional combat skills and uses those abilities to pursue revenge. In Taken, the story follows a retired intelligence agent who hunts down criminals after his daughter is kidnapped. Like John Wick, the main character relies on his experience and determination to defeat dangerous enemies. However, the tone of the two films differs in several ways. Taken focuses more on emotional drama and suspense, while John Wick emphasizes stylized action choreography and visual storytelling. The combat in Taken often relies on fast editing and quick camera movements, while John Wick presents longer shots that clearly show the action taking place. Another comparison often made is with the Bourne series starring Matt Damon. The Bourne films are known for their intense action scenes and complex espionage storylines. Both Bourne and John Wick feature highly trained fighters who can defeat multiple enemies using tactical thinking and physical skill. However, the visual style between the two series is very different. The Bourne films often use handheld camera techniques and rapid editing to create a feeling of chaos and urgency. In contrast, John Wick focuses on smooth camera movement and carefully choreographed fights. This difference in style helped John Wick feel fresh and visually distinct compared to earlier action movies. The film is also frequently compared to classic revenge movies such as Death Wish. In those films, a central character seeks justice after experiencing a personal tragedy. The theme of revenge has long been a popular element in action storytelling. What makes John Wick unique is the emotional simplicity of its motivation. The death of John's puppy might seem small compared to the tragedies in other revenge films, but the story carefully explains why the loss matters so much to him. The puppy represents the final gift from his late wife and symbolizes his attempt to move forward with his life. This emotional detail gives the revenge story a deeper meaning. Another important influence on John Wick comes from martial arts action films, particularly those from Hong Kong cinema. Movies starring actors such as Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan helped establish the tradition of carefully choreographed fight scenes. These films often treat action sequences almost like dance performances, where timing and movement are extremely important. The directors of John Wick, Chad Stahelski and David Leitch, were strongly inspired by this style of filmmaking. Instead of relying only on special effects, they focused on physical choreography and practical stunts. This approach allowed the action scenes to feel more realistic and visually satisfying. The gun-fu fighting style used in John Wick also draws inspiration from earlier films such as The Matrix. In that series, Keanu Reeves' character also combines martial arts with advanced weapon combat. Because Reeves already had experience with action choreography from The Matrix, he was able to perform the movements required for John Wick with confidence and precision. In fact, many viewers consider John Wick to be one of the films that helped revive Keanu Reeves' career as a major action star. After several years away from large action roles, this movie reintroduced him as a powerful and believable action hero. The success of the first John Wick film also influenced many later action movies. After its release, several filmmakers began focusing more on practical stunt work and clear choreography rather than relying heavily on computer-generated effects. The film showed that audiences appreciate action scenes where they can clearly see the physical performances of the actors. When comparing John Wick to the later movies in its own franchise, the first film stands out because of its simplicity and focused storytelling. The sequels expand the world of assassins and introduce more complex conflicts. However, The original movie remains memorable because it introduces the character and the hidden society in a clear and engaging way. The directors themselves continued to develop their unique action style in later projects. Chad Stahelski directed the following John Wick films, further expanding the universe and refining the choreography that made the original movie so popular. Overall, John Wick stands at an interesting point within the history of action cinema. It draws inspiration from older revenge films, martial arts traditions, and modern thrillers while introducing its own distinctive style. By combining these influences with fresh ideas, the film helped redefine how modern action movies could be made. The ending of John Wick brings the story full circle by combining the themes of revenge, grief, and the search for peace. After a long series of confrontations, betrayals, and battles, the final moments of the film show the emotional and physical consequences of John Wick's journey. While the movie delivers an intense climax, the ending is surprisingly quiet and reflective, allowing the audience to think about what John's actions truly mean. As the story approaches its final act, John Wick has already eliminated many of the criminals connected to the attack on his home. The person responsible for starting the entire conflict, Iosef Tarasov, has already faced the consequences of his actions. However, the story is not completely finished because Iosef's father, Viggo Tarasov, still seeks revenge against John. Viggo understands that John's return to the assassin world threatens his power and reputation. Even though Viggo originally feared John, he eventually realizes that the only way to end the conflict is by confronting him directly. This leads to the final series of events that push the story toward its conclusion. Before the final confrontation with Viggo, John faces several dangerous situations. Viggo attempts to eliminate him by hiring other assassins and setting traps. One of the most emotional moments occurs when Marcus, an old associate of John, is captured and killed by Viggo's men. Marcus had secretly helped John earlier in the story, showing loyalty and respect despite being hired to kill him. Marcus's death adds another layer of personal loss to John's journey. It reminds the audience that even within the assassin world, friendships and loyalties exist. His death also increases John's determination to end the conflict once and for all. The final confrontation between John Wick and Viggo Tarasov takes place during a tense nighttime encounter. Both men are injured and exhausted after everything that has happened. Unlike many action films where the final battle is filled with large explosions or dramatic speeches, the fight between John and Viggo feels raw and personal. The two characters struggle physically in a brutal hand-to-hand fight. This confrontation represents the final stage of the conflict that began with Iosef's careless actions. Viggo eventually admits that he understands why John started this war, acknowledging that his son's actions caused the entire situation. Even though Viggo expresses this understanding, the conflict cannot be undone. The consequences of the earlier violence cannot simply disappear. The fight ends with John defeating Viggo, bringing the revenge story to its conclusion. After this intense confrontation, the film shifts its tone dramatically. Instead of ending with celebration or victory, the story moves into a quiet and reflective moment. John is badly injured from the battle and wanders into a veterinary clinic in search of medical supplies. Inside the clinic, he treats his wounds while watching over a cage containing a small dog that had been scheduled to be euthanized. The scene is calm and quiet, creating a strong contrast with the violent events that occurred earlier in the film. This moment carries important symbolic meaning. John decides to take the dog with him as he leaves the clinic. This action mirrors the earlier moment in the film when he received the puppy from his late wife. The difference now is that John is the one choosing to save the dog instead of receiving it as a gift. The decision to adopt the dog suggests that John is still searching for emotional healing despite everything he has done. The dog becomes a new symbol of companionship and hope. Even though John has returned to the violent world he once left behind, this small act shows that he has not completely lost his humanity. The ending also reflects the theme of consequences that runs throughout the entire story. John achieved his goal of revenge, but the journey came with a heavy cost. He returned to the assassin world, lost an old friend, and experienced further violence. Instead of presenting revenge as a satisfying solution, The film suggests that revenge is part of a larger cycle of conflict. John may have completed his mission, but his return to the underworld means that his life will likely continue to be surrounded by danger. At the same time, the final scene leaves a sense of quiet hope. The image of John walking away with the dog shows that he still desires some form of peace in his life. The story does not promise that he will escape the assassin world again, but it hints that he has not completely lost his ability to care about something beyond violence. Overall, the ending of John Wick balances action with emotional reflection. It concludes the revenge story while also reminding the audience that behind the legend of the unstoppable assassin is a man still struggling with loss and searching for a reason to keep living. When John Wick was first released in 2014, many people in the film industry did not expect it to become a major success. The movie did not have the massive production budget that many modern action films receive, and it was not originally promoted as a large blockbuster. However, through strong audience reactions, positive critical reviews, and word-of-mouth recommendations, the film quickly grew into one of the most respected action movies of its time. The estimated production budget for John Wick was between $20 and $30 million. Compared to many Hollywood action films, this budget was relatively modest. Large action movies often require budgets well above $100 million because of expensive visual effects, massive sets, and large marketing campaigns. John Wick took a different approach by focusing more on practical effects, real stunt work, and carefully choreographed action scenes. The filmmakers used their limited budget efficiently by prioritizing elements that would have the greatest impact on the audience. Instead of spending large amounts of money on computer-generated effects, they invested in training actors, designing detailed fight choreography, and creating visually distinctive environments. This decision allowed the film to deliver high-quality action sequences without requiring an enormous budget. Another factor that helped control production costs was the use of real locations. Much of the film was shot in New York City, where the urban environment provided natural backdrops for many scenes. Filming in existing locations reduced the need for expensive studio-built sets while also giving the movie a realistic atmosphere. When John Wick was released in theaters on October 24, 2014, the film quickly attracted attention from audiences who appreciated its unique style of action. During its opening weekend in the United States, the movie earned around $14 million at the box office. While this opening was not considered extremely large, it showed that viewers were interested in the film. As the weeks continued, positive audience reactions helped the movie maintain strong ticket sales. People who watched the film began recommending it to others, especially fans of action movies. Word-of-mouth promotion became one of the most important factors in the movie's success. By the end of its theatrical run, John Wick had earned more than $86 million worldwide. This total included approximately $43 million from the United States and around $43 million from international markets. For a movie with a relatively small production budget, these numbers represented a strong financial performance. In addition to its theatrical earnings, the film continued to generate revenue through home video sales and digital streaming platforms. As more people discovered the movie through these formats, its popularity continued to grow. Over time, John Wick developed a loyal fan base that appreciated its action style and storytelling. The critical reception of John Wick was also very positive. Many film critics praised the movie for its clear action choreography, stylish cinematography, and strong performance by Keanu Reeves. Reviewers often noted that the film felt refreshing compared to other action movies released during the same period. Critics highlighted the way the movie avoided many common problems found in modern action films. Instead of using excessive camera shaking or rapid editing, the film allowed viewers to clearly see the movement and choreography of each fight scene. This approach made the action feel more realistic and engaging. Keanu Reeves received particular praise for his performance. Many critics recognized the physical commitment he showed in the role. Reeves trained extensively in martial arts and tactical combat techniques before filming began. His ability to perform many of his own stunts helped make the action sequences more convincing. The film also received positive comments for its world building. Critics appreciated the mysterious assassin society introduced through locations like the Continental Hotel and the use of gold coins as currency. These elements created a unique cinematic universe that felt larger than the story itself. As time passed, John Wick gained recognition as one of the most influential action movies of the 2010s. The success of the film led to the creation of multiple sequels that expanded the story and explored the assassin world in greater detail. The movie's strong reception also helped revive Keanu Reeves' career as a leading action star. After several years away from major action roles, Reeves returned to the spotlight with a performance that audiences found both believable and exciting. Today, the original John Wick is often viewed as the film that launched a successful franchise and introduced a new standard for action choreography in Hollywood. What began as a modestly budgeted movie eventually became the foundation of a global action series. Overall, the combination of efficient production, strong box office performance, and enthusiastic critical reception helped John Wick become one of the most successful and respected action films of its era. One of the reasons John Wick has remained popular years after its release is its strong rewatch value. Many action movies provide excitement during the first viewing but lose their appeal once the story is known. John Wick is different because the film offers several elements that continue to entertain audiences even after multiple viewings. Its carefully designed action sequences, detailed world building, and emotional themes give viewers reasons to return to the movie again and again. The most obvious reason people rewatch John Wick is the action choreography. The fight scenes in the film are designed with precision and clarity, allowing the audience to appreciate the skill involved in every movement. Unlike action movies that rely on rapid editing and chaotic camera movement, John Wick presents its action in a way that makes each fight feel almost like a carefully planned performance. When viewers watch the movie again, they often notice new details within the choreography. The way John Wick moves, the timing of each attack, and the tactical decisions he makes during combat become easier to observe. Because the camera remains steady and the editing is clear, the action scenes reward careful attention. Another reason for the film's rewatch value is its unique world building. The movie introduces a hidden society of assassins that operates under its own rules and traditions. Locations such as the Continental Hotel, the use of gold coins as currency, and the professional codes followed by the characters create a sense that this world extends far beyond the events of the film. During the first viewing, many of these details may appear mysterious or unexplained. However, when audiences watch the film again, they often begin to notice how carefully these elements are introduced. Small conversations, background interactions, and visual clues hint at a larger system that exists behind the main story. The characters also contribute to the film's lasting appeal. John Wick himself is a character who becomes more interesting with repeated viewing. His quiet personality and limited dialogue encourage viewers to focus on his actions rather than his words. Subtle facial expressions and body language reveal his emotions and motivations. For example, when John interacts with the puppy at the beginning of the film, the scene carries deep emotional meaning. On a second viewing, the audience already knows what will happen later in the story. This knowledge makes the early moments feel even more powerful because viewers understand how important that small symbol of hope is for John. Supporting characters also reveal more layers during repeated viewings. Characters such as Winston, Marcus, and Sharon represent different aspects of the assassin world. Their behavior, dialogue, and relationships with John suggest a complex network of respect, loyalty, and professional conduct. The tone and visual style of the movie also make it enjoyable to watch multiple times. The combination of dark lighting, neon colors, and carefully designed environments creates a visually striking experience. Many scenes feel almost artistic because of the way lighting and camera movement are used. For viewers who appreciate cinematography and production design, the film offers many small visual details that may not be fully noticed during the first viewing. The reflections, color contrasts, and symmetrical framing become more noticeable when the audience already understands the story. Another factor that contributes to the film's rewatch value is its pacing. The story moves quickly and avoids unnecessary distractions. Because the runtime is relatively short, the movie remains engaging from beginning to end without feeling overly long. The balance between emotional moments and action scenes also helps maintain interest. The quiet scenes give the audience time to understand John's motivations, while the action sequences deliver excitement and energy. This balance keeps the viewing experience dynamic. From a thematic perspective, the film leaves viewers with several ideas to think about. One of the main takeaways is the importance of consequences. The entire conflict begins because of a careless act committed by Isf Tarasov. His decision to attack John Wick creates a chain reaction that affects many people within the criminal world. Another important message involves the difficulty of escaping the past. John Wick had once left the assassin world to live a peaceful life with his wife. However, the events of the story force him to return to that dangerous environment. This idea reflects a common human experience where past actions and identities continue to influence the present. Finally, the film reminds viewers that even in a violent world, small acts of kindness can still exist. The ending scene, where John adopts another dog, suggests that he has not completely lost his humanity despite everything he has experienced. Overall, John Wick offers a viewing experience that remains exciting, visually engaging, and emotionally meaningful even after multiple watches. Its combination of strong action, thoughtful storytelling, and memorable characters ensures that audiences continue to return to the film long after their first viewing. For viewers who want to experience John Wick for the first time or revisit the film again, there are several convenient ways to watch it. Because the movie became extremely popular after its release, it is widely available across many entertainment platforms. Whether someone prefers streaming services, digital rentals, physical copies, or television broadcasts, the film can be accessed in multiple formats that suit different viewing preferences. One of the most common ways to watch John Wick today is through digital streaming platforms. Many popular streaming services include the movie in their libraries depending on regional licensing agreements. These platforms allow viewers to watch the film instantly using internet-connected devices such as smart televisions, computers, tablets, and smartphones. Streaming services provide a simple and flexible viewing experience. Viewers can pause the movie, rewind scenes, or adjust subtitles and audio settings according to their preferences. This flexibility is especially useful for action films like John Wick, where audiences might want to replay certain fight sequences or carefully observe the choreography of the action scenes. Another option for watching the movie is digital rental or purchase through online video stores. Many digital marketplaces allow users to rent the film for a limited period or purchase it permanently in their digital library. Once purchased, the movie can be streamed at any time without needing a physical copy. Digital rentals are often a good option for viewers who want to watch the film once without committing to a permanent purchase. After renting the movie, viewers usually have a specific window of time to begin watching it and another period during which they must finish it. This system provides flexibility while keeping the cost relatively low. For those who prefer higher video quality and long-term ownership, purchasing the film digitally may be the best option. Digital purchases often include access to the movie in high-definition or ultra-high-definition formats, depending on the device and service being used. Physical media remains another popular way to watch John Wick. The film was released on DVD, Blu-ray, and Ultra HD Blu-ray formats. These versions provide excellent picture and sound quality, making them ideal for viewers who enjoy home theater systems or high-quality viewing experiences. Blu-ray and Ultra HD versions of the movie often include additional features such as behind-the-scenes documentaries, interviews with the cast and crew, and detailed explanations of the stunt choreography. These bonus features can provide valuable insight into how the film was created and how the action sequences were designed. Collectors often prefer physical copies because they allow viewers to keep the film permanently without depending on internet connections or digital platforms. Physical media also ensures that the movie remains accessible even if licensing agreements change on streaming services. Cable and satellite television channels sometimes broadcast John Wick as part of their movie programming. Action films with strong popularity are often included in television schedules, especially during themed movie nights or special events. Watching the film through television broadcasts can be convenient for viewers who already subscribe to these services. In addition to traditional television, some online television platforms provide live channels that occasionally feature the film. These services combine elements of streaming and cable television, allowing viewers to watch movies as part of scheduled programming. Another option for viewers is watching the film as part of the complete John Wick franchise collection. Because the success of the original movie led to several sequels, some platforms offer bundles that include multiple films in the series. Watching the movies in order allows audiences to see how the story and the assassin world expand over time. For viewers watching the movie for the first time, it may be helpful to choose a quiet environment where the sound design and action sequences can be fully appreciated. The film relies heavily on precise audio effects and musical cues, so watching with good speakers or headphones can improve the overall experience. Subtitles can also enhance the viewing experience, especially for audiences who want to catch every line of dialogue or understand the quieter conversations between characters. Because the movie includes moments of calm dialogue mixed with intense action scenes, subtitles can help viewers follow the story more clearly. Overall, John Wick is widely accessible through multiple viewing options that suit different preferences and budgets. Whether someone chooses streaming, digital rental, physical media, or television broadcasts, the film can be enjoyed in a way that fits their personal viewing habits. No matter how viewers choose to watch it, John Wick remains an action film that delivers both thrilling combat and emotional storytelling. Experiencing the movie with good picture quality and clear sound allows audiences to fully appreciate the choreography, cinematography, and atmosphere that made the film a modern action classic. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more gripping movie explanations like this.